where exactly has the company or the organization been registered. NPC stands for non-profit company, right? And then the NPO, it's usually registered under the government. NPC is registered under CIPC. When it comes to the tax element, there's really no difference between the two. Okay, so when a person or individuals register with an NPC for a non-profit organization or register as an NPO for a non-profit organization, it does not automatically mean that they are tax exempt. So both entities are seen the same in the eyes of SARS, right?
Both are the same.
In the eyes of SARS.
You're equal.
Equal, 100% equal, right? And then the only thing
That's not what we want to hear.
I know. So the only difference between an NPC and an NPO is where has it been registered. So when you register an NPC, because NPC stands for non-profit company, the company element, that means you are registered under CIPC. And there are some rules and regulations that CIPC has. And an NPC then has to abide to those rules and regulations. For example, remember last time we were talking about businesses, they need to submit what we call an annual levy return, right?
Yes.
So an NPC would have to do the same thing. Meanwhile, an NPO doesn't have to submit an annual return to CIPC because then they're not registered with CIPC.
So no letters coming from SARS?
CIPC. No letters coming from CIPC.
Okay, but from SARS you do get.
From SARS you do get.
Okay.
And then the other difference, I'm glad you actually brought that up. The other difference would be with an NPC, because you registered through CIPC, automatically that NPC has a tax number, meaning that they're automatically registered with SARS from the time that they register with NPC. Meanwhile, with the NPO, you as the fiduciary or the member will have to go to SARS and register for income tax. Right? So there's a little bit more of admin. And obviously, with an NPO as well, there might be some requirements from the government if you're actually getting donations from the government as well. When it comes to tax, however, SARS sees NPC and NPO as the same. Because at the end of the day, it is the same thing. The only difference is how did you register the organization.
Okay.
The mandate is the same. The purpose you're registering this organization, it is for you to be able to provide services one way or another to the public as a whole, not for your benefit, but for the benefit of the public.
Oh, okay.
So because of that, then SARS sees you the same.
So you have to be accountable for that.
You have to be accountable for that.
So what kind of letters would you get from SARS, if I may ask then?
Okay.
Because now there is a slight difference, but you're still getting mail from SARS. So what is it that you're getting from SARS?
Okay. So let's backtrack, right? When you register a non-profit organization, and when I say non-profit organization, I'm now including both, right? Because now we have concluded that in terms of SARS, whether it's an NPO or NPC, it's the same thing, right? So when you register a non-profit organization, SARS, you are not automatically exempt from taxes, right? Meaning that when that NPO or the NPC is registered, you are required to submit tax returns. You are required, and then on your tax return, it will detail whether you're supposed to pay taxes or not. So this is now just generally speaking, okay? And therefore, hence you get the letters from SARS. You know, your return is outstanding and etc. You need to submit those because you are still adhered to the law of income tax. Income tax applies to any taxpayer, regardless of whether it's an NPO or a company. So that's number one. Number two, it goes back to what was your motive. The motive of creating this NPO was to benefit whoever you want to benefit. So it can be the country as a whole, can be the public, a specific area within the public.
Yeah.
You've got specific people in mind that you want to assist, and you feel called to do it, but you don't want to benefit from it, right? So that was the whole point. And because of that, SARS can provide and allow you to be tax-exempt institution. So then what does a tax-exempt institution mean?
Yeah.
It means that as an NPO, if you have been approved by SARS, you don't pay taxes.
Oh, okay.
You still need to submit tax returns, but you don't pay any taxes. You don't pay income tax. You don't pay donations tax. You don't pay dividends withholding tax. You can claim VAT, but you don't charge VAT because you don't have any services that you're providing, right? So there's a lot of benefits that then come with that, and you don't have to worry about how much taxes do I have to pay. The only thing that you need to make sure you are doing is still submitting the tax returns because you're still a taxpayer at the end of the day.
Okay.
But that is only when the NP, the non-profit organization, has actually applied to SARS for what we call now a PBO, Public Benefit Organization. So SARS calls the NPO Public Benefit Organization simply because just because you're an NPO does not automatically mean that you'll be a PBO.
Okay. So when it comes to an NPC, a non-profit company,
Yeah.
so you pay all of that.
Yes. So
You're expected to give all of that, all those taxes.
So with a non-profit company, because of that whole non-profit, right?
Yeah, I thought it was because of the company then that makes you pay.
No. So okay, let's go back, right?
Yeah.
You've got a company, generally speaking. When you have a company, you want to be able to generate profit, right? Because you want to earn the money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hence, SARS then charges you taxes, right? But then now this company has a non-profit in front of it. So we're saying that, yes, it's a company. However, the purpose of this company, it's not for us to generate income. This company has no shareholders. There's no one who can say, I'm a shareholder of this company. It has directors, which are people who are representing the company, running the company, but they have no ownership. So you can't, as a member of the non-profit company, you can't go and say, you know what, there's donations of 10 million that we have received. I'm going to take 5 million for myself. You can't, because it's a non-profit company.
You still have to account for that.
You still have to account for that.
Rand.
Yeah. So now, because it's a non-profit company, if you apply to SARS for the exemption, then you qualify.
Okay.
If SARS approve the exemption, right?
So what? Yeah. Continue.
Then you will qualify and you won't pay any of those taxes. You'll submit the tax return, but there won't be any taxes for you to pay if you qualify. If you don't qualify, then unfortunately you are liable for taxes.
Okay. So what happens if you do not even pay anything? Like you do not submit anything, reports or anything. What happens?
Then you're
because we do have such, right?
Yeah.
And lots of
Yeah.
NPOs and NPCs who do not do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's the tricky part. So in short, if you do not, then you are not compliant, right? And SARS has the right, just like last time, to actually issue penalties as well as jail time.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, can you be arrested for that?
Yes. Because remember, tax is law. And if you're not complying to the law, then you actually, it's a criminal element. In as much as we might not look at it that way, because we just think, tax, gives to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and then it ends there. There's that law element at it. And because of that, there's a section within the legislation that says you can either be penalized, right? SARS will usually penalize you first, especially if you are like a first offender. You can either be penalized, but they are allowed to arrest you. It's within their rights. They might choose not to, but it's within their rights. But what I wanted to say was the tricky thing is, so we go back to the whole separation now, right? Between an NPC and an NPO. Yeah. With an NPC, because you have registered via CIPC, they automatically register you for tax with SARS.
Yes.
So SARS have you on their system and they're able to track whether you have submitted tax returns or not, right? With an NPO, because you did not register directly with an NPC, it is your responsibility.
You might be under the radar?
Yes, exactly. It's now your responsibility to go to SARS and register.
Wait. So is it that the reason why we have so many submarines? My queen is laughing at me. But we have a lot of NPOs that are submarines.
Yeah.
And later, years later, that's when SARS is like, hey, hello.
Yeah. Because you're not necessarily on the system. You didn't register.
Yeah.
So because you didn't register, technically they don't know that you exist. And I'm saying technically because there's other ways to track. You've got a bank account. There's movement going on. That it can be easily flagged that way. And SARS can get that information from the bank, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, there's actually...
So you've been operating,
right? But usually the reason why we've got a lot of submarines is because the information sometimes is also not there. So people are not aware that an NPO, you still need to register for taxes.
And again, I'm thinking there was a time when in South Africa, people were like in awe of what's happening. Now I can have my own business, register it, and and have an NPO. Others registered, they wanted to do some business, but they decided, no, let's go NPO. It's easier because we can also be sponsored or whatever. So maybe it was the reason, and that, as you said, information is not out there.
Yeah. And just because you're an NPO does not automatically mean you'll be exempt from taxes. So let's forget the fact that you apply, right? There's that element. You need to apply for the exemption, okay? But you can apply and not be approved, depending on how your NPO is structured. I'll give an example. There's one of the requirements that says that for tax purposes wise now, right? In order for you to qualify as a PBO, an organization to qualify as a PBO, it needs whatever activities that organization is performing, it needs to be for the benefit of the public, right? So, example one, let's say I want to, my organization, the aim is for us to give pads to girls in specific areas, right? That is a public as a whole. It might not necessarily be a large number in the sense of the demographic of South Africa, but you are targeting female or young girls. That's it. You're not saying this young girl must be short or tall or whatever. It's just generally young girls, right? So that would qualify as an activity for a PBO.
Okay.
Let's use the same example. I decide I'm going to create an organization. I want to give pads specifically to girls who play netball in Athlone Girls High. I used to go to Athlone, so it's quickly to use. Athlone Girls High. That is very specific, in as much as it's still girls, it does not really benefit the public as a whole. It's benefiting those specific girls
group
within that school alone.
Okay.
That would not qualify for PBO for tax purposes. So then now, if these two apply, the first organization will get an exemption. And whatever income flows in will not be taxed, right? The second organization will not get an exemption. And the income that flows will be taxed. And I'm saying this, I'm thinking at the back of my mind that I'm excluding what we call donations, because donations then has a separate...
because I was going to ask you about if you get a huge lump sum or like a huge donation. Or, a lot of money, sponsorship that comes. You spoke about 5 million rand, and they're like, we love your project. Here you go. How does it work? Are you taxed from that as well? Or it's like, congratulations. It ends there. Because that's what we think. And that's why I would also rush to go get that car, with the tire at the back.
So, I guess in due time you will learn that my favorite answer is it's not automatic. It goes back to whether or not the exemption applies. All right. So you've got something called donations tax, generally speaking.
Okay.
Donation tax means that when you receive donations above a specific range, that donations will be taxed at 20% if it's not more than 30 million, and then 25% if it's over 30 million, right? However, this donation tax, the person who pays the donation tax is the donor. So if I donate to your NPO, I am liable to pay donations tax. If this NPO does not qualify for exemption, right? So I should pay 20% on whatever I've given you. If it qualifies for exemption, then donation tax does not apply. Whatever amount that the organization gets in the form of donation, because it's now a public benefit organization, I don't have to pay 20% on that donations. But it goes back to what you said earlier, that there are some documentations or requirements needed. So when I submit that tax return, what will SARS want? They'll want financial statements. The financial statements will actually show how am I actually using the funds for the organization, right? And then on that, they also then determine, does this organization still qualify as a PBO or not? So just because you got a PBO today doesn't mean that next
tomorrow.
Year, yes, it depends. It depends on the transactions, because remember, the whole purpose was for the benefit of the
So
public.
You can get PBO this year and you operate, and in a few months you get those millions. And next year you find you have to now account for that.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You always have to account for that. And they're more stringent on actually checking that, simply because there's people can use that as an excuse or a way to avoid taxes, a way to avoid declaring things under their own name. I can create a PBO, and then in that PBO, I get the 10 million. I've spoken to someone on the corner. I need that money. Let it come into the PBO. And then the 5 million is going to come to me, right? And then that way, I've managed to avoid tax. So because SARS is aware that there's a way people can avoid taxes through PBOs, they're more stringent. They're going to check what was your founding? Yes, what was your founding statement? What did you say the purpose of this organization was?
Yeah.
Are you doing that? One of the main things is the organization is not for your benefit; it's for the benefit of the public. The only thing you're supposed to get from it is remuneration, and your remuneration should be market related. You can't give yourself 20 million, meanwhile you're supposed to earn 100,000, right? So, is the only income that you're receiving remuneration? Or are you now blessing yourself in different forms, right?
Wow.
They'll look at that. Your financial statements should be able to declare such information, assuming that the financial statements has been done correctly, right? So that would be one thing that they'll look at as well. So your financial statements, your founding statement will be able to tell SARS that, okay, fine, this NPO is still compliant with what they said they'll be doing, or they've diverted. If you've diverted, then they have to go back and say,
you have to account,
do they
otherwise
qualify? Yeah. If you don't qualify, you lose your PBO membership or certification. And when you lose your certification, you're now considered as a normal company and you need to pay taxes.
As everybody else.
As everybody else, because you're not doing what you claimed you'll be doing.
Okay, let's take a break and then come back to talk some more with our tax specialist. She is Patricia Komani. And yes, my family, the lines are opened on 012-334-1322. It's 012-334-1322. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp or Telegram on 082-657-2729, 082-657-2729. It's tax and NPOs and PCs today. You can ask anything. Even I think they can take us back to the business one, text with business, because we're still along the same line. So you can ask your questions on that. And we are live on Facebook. We are coming back, giving you the sounds of Nduduzo Matse. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
This is Heart to Heart with Sibongile Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit. Heart to Heart.
Do you need prayer? WhatsApp your name and your prayer request to 082 657 2729 and our care center will gladly contact you to pray for you.
Kusukela enhlizweni yethu ukuya kweyakho. Radio Pulpit 657 AM. Umngani wakho imihla ngemihla.
Nduduzo Matse, thank you, Jesus. We give him all the honor and we thank him for being God. We thank him for loving us and keeping us. You are on Heart to Heart. I am Sibongile Mofokeng and I'm with you up until 3 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock Germany, Johan also will be saying hello to you on something else. And the time right now, my family, it's 18 minutes. Now Sibongile goes to hours. 18 minutes just before 1. I am not alone in the studio. If you are watching on Facebook, you can see I'm with my queen, our text specialist, Sis Patricia Komani, and we're talking tax and NPOs, tax and NPCs. You can ask your questions based on what we are talking about today. Alternatively, tax and business. She's still here to can answer. I remember that last time we spoke even about for pensioners. Pensioners were asking questions and they got a response. I said something to you when we were off air and I would like you to respond to that because I said most of the times people do get the NPOs, they get big monies from there, but they are only using the NPO as a front, where else they want to use it for their own benefit. It's not about the public, it's not about God's people. They're not even delivering, or they deliver a little bit. Just like some of people would get tenders. And then at the end, they build crooked houses because they didn't get enough cement. They didn't get... So they do exactly that with NPOs. And for me, it says they don't have the fear of the Lord. And you said?
I said that's true, and I guess there's two elements into that. One, it will depend on your relationship with God, right? Because temptation comes regardless of whether you've got an NP or whatever you're doing in life, there'll be temptations. You can be in business and someone will come through, will tempt you, right? You can have an NPO, someone will tempt you. So all of that, the temptation will always be there. But the reverence of God then will come into play, right? The reverence of God will come into play. How is your relationship with God? Do you see God as somebody that you just go to get some stuff? You know, dear God, please give me this opportunity. And then now you got the opportunity like, okay, kishap. And now I go and do whatever I want to do. Or do you see God as, I'll give you two examples. Moses, right? When God was like, okay, fine, you can go ahead, but my spirit won't be with you. What was his response? I'm not going.
Moving.
Yeah.
If you're not there, then we ain't going nowhere. So, that should be the attitude that we possess as God's children.
As God's children.
Yeah.
And remember, we're also stewards, right?
Yeah.
And as stewards, everything that God gives us, God is a God of excellency. God is a God of honesty. God is a God of justice. God is a God of people, of the poor. I've been reading Deuteronomy, and there's a lot of things they will talk about. Take care of the foreigners, take care of the widows, take care of the people. So those in minority, God's heart is there, right?
So you can't be playing around that.
So you can't be playing with that.
Yeah, because what I wanted to say earlier on, it's connected to what you're saying now. Actually, when you're robbing God's people, you're not robbing them. You're robbing God himself.
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing it against God.
Yes.
You're just not aware yet.
Yes, and it's not your money. God has given you a task. You are just
you have to be a good steward.
You have to be accountable for it.
Right. Here is a family member talking to us. And Tate Kopa, say hello.
Good day, Bongi, Radio Pulpit family, and your honorable guest.
Hello, sir.
Bongi, you have a great topic today. I will just be quick. Firstly, I would like to talk about the bureaucracy with regards to the NPC or NPOs. If we can cut the red tape, I think things will be better there. And then number two, I think we need an ABC strategy with an exit strategy also, which means like we should have an A to Z strategy where you enter from A and then you exit from Z when you comply, and then you can be able to have an exit strategy where you are going to be able to deliver your services. And then the other point, social development and this NPO unit should also have a standard operation procedure.
Yeah.
Like or everywhere they should work the same. You should not go to Santin, they work like this, Soweto, they work like this, and
Yeah.
then Sibongile, they work like this. And then they should also have awareness and outreach programs so that people can be aware about these things and stop complicating things and try to simplify things. As I was saying, we need A to Z and ABC strategies. And then lastly, for incoming income generating projects, like maybe for instance you are an orphanage, you can make a bakery so that you can be able to provide service for your NPO so that you can create employment and make income generating projects so that you cannot be able to chow the money, because most of the NPO people are chowing the money.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Kenneth Kopase, Gauteng, Johannesburg.
Thank you, Ntate Kopase in Johannesburg. That is like really excellent takes right there. What would you like to say?
With regards to
The red tape?
you know, I don't necessarily think there's a red tape per se. I think the knowledge is not there, right?
Like we said, there's not enough information out there for people.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give you an example when it comes to, because I think what he was referring to is just now NPOs and NPCs as a whole, not necessarily regarding to the tax element of it, right? So when you look at with regards to the actual information, how is an NPC supposed to be incorporated? When you go to CIPC, all that information is there. CIPC usually has workshops, but then now where do they advertise the workshops? They advertise the workshops on social media. Does everybody have access to social media? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So you might find that certain people are getting the information, but there's also a large amount of people
who are missing
out,
on,
right?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the social development, I agree to a certain extent that there needs to be a similar structure. What you get at CIPC, it needs to be similar with what's happening with the social development when it comes to now registering the NPO or NPCs. That way it simplifies. Because remember what I mentioned was now with an NPC, automatically you registered for tax, right? NPO, you're not automatically registered for tax. So now, if you don't have that knowledge, you're not going to register for tax because you don't know. Right? So things like that. And then when it comes to SARS actually have what they call workshops. And they would go to different areas to actually share information. They have a YouTube channel where they post relevant information regarding different types of taxes. So once again, the information is there. But the question is, can everybody access the information?
Eish.
And
I suspect that you're needed in Soweto. No, it's true.
Yeah, and I guess it's true because it goes back to the discussion we were having last time with companies, right? A lot of people didn't know that you actually need to submit tax returns simply because the company is registered, whether it's active or not. So it is those information that needs to be, I guess, more out there. But one thing that I would like to comment on is one thing that he mentioned regarding the income, right?
Yeah.
So you create a bakery and the bakery generates income for the purpose of...
So bad. It might be changed from PBO now. You might not be exempted anymore. Are we getting there?
We're getting there. Okay. And once again, it's not automatic, okay? An NPO or an NPC, that is now considered as a PBO. So tax-wise, you're now exempt, right? So now we're changing terminologies. We're not talking about public benefit organization. Because with SARS, they're saying, okay, good, we're happy with what you guys are doing. You don't have to pay taxes, right? They say you can have an activity that the business or the NPO is performing. It must not be the main thing. So the main thing should still be the fact that you are providing services for the public or for the good of the public. If that income, right, it's for the purpose of generating income in order for you to provide whatever services, then it might be exempt, right? So you might not pay taxes. If it is not for the purpose of that, so now you've got something completely different. Maybe you felt like, you know what, initially when I started, I wanted to help the organization or I wanted to help the public. But now, you know, I would like to do something for myself as well. So now you've created that pot, right? So that pot might not necessarily be exempt. There's an amount, if I remember correctly, I think it's 100,000, but I may stand to be corrected. 100,000 that is exempt. Okay, so example, the bakery. The bakery has made 200,000 rand. Okay, the 200,000, let's assume that it's not exempt. 200,000, from the 200,000, there's an exemption, a partial exemption of 100,000. Then the 100,000 remaining will be taxable. If, however, there was an exemption approved for that service, then the whole 200,000 will not be incurred on taxes. There'll be no taxes that you have to pay. So it's not black and white where you can say, I can do this on the side and then therefore I'm going to avoid taxes simply because it still falls under the radar of an NPO.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I know. Let's go correct things and do things right and honor the Lord with the responsibility that He has given unto us. He has called us to be stewards. Let's do that. As we are summing up, my queen, there are those NPOs where, for example, I love the orphanage example. I had an orphanage that we gave nappies to. We collected and there was a drive and we gave that to them. Some people gave stoves, many things. And at the end of the day, they say, we want to make money for ourselves. Yes, we have received all of these. Yes, our children need these, but we're going to sell. And so they have a jumble sale.
Yeah.
So what happens if the law finds out that this is can they find themselves now being investigated for SARS and all that?
Yeah.
If somebody goes to SARS and say, pero now we are giving there.
Yeah.
So how does it work? As we are summing up and you can also sum up our talk for today.
Yeah. So with that, I would say, I guess it depends on what's the purpose of the jumbo sale. So if the purpose for the jumbo sale is, okay, great, thank you guys, you've given us all these items. However, our need is not a fridge. We need to pay school fees for the kids, right? We need to buy groceries for the orphanage. We need to pay the ladies who work within the orphanage. So we actually need cash. And then they perform the jumbo sale for that. Then that is fine, because the money that will be received from the jumbo sale is still being utilized for the purpose of the orphanage.
Right.
If it happens that they are selling these things for their own benefit, okay, so we've received enough fridges, we've got the fridge, thank you for giving us this fridge, but we already have a fridge and we don't see the need of us actually having an extra fridge. We're going to sell this and we're going to share the cash between us. Then that's a different ballgame altogether. It goes back to now you are utilizing the funds for your own benefit. And should then SARS find out you do, or you can, and I'm saying you can because I'm sure there's other factors that SARS would have to look at, right? You can lose the license of the PBO and therefore you'll be considered as a normal company and you might need to pay taxes. And to sum up today, it would be, one, when it comes to NPO, non-profit organizations, I guess you need to decide whether you want to register as an NPO, right, which is with a social development, or as an NPC with CIPC, all right? Once you've done that, it is not automatic that your organization is tax exempt. So even though with NPC you might be registered for income tax, you still need to apply for tax exemption with SARS. When SARS approve, then you are now exempt from taxes, right? The taxes is not just income tax, there's other taxes as well. And there's one thing that I didn't mention. If you actually register or apply for a Section 18A certification, then the donations that the company give you, they can deduct that from the side. Remember last time when we talked about donations, I mentioned that a company can donate up to 100,000 and then the rest will be taxable, right? So now, if they've got a Section 18A, they can deduct more than the 100,000 because then SARS is saying, we understand you actually gave this money to a PBO, an organization that is doing something good for the country. Therefore, you can deduct these taxes on your expenses. So then the donor now also benefits. That's the bright thing or the good thing about a PBO. Once the organization has been qualified as a PBO, it's not only the PBO that benefits. The donor also benefits. The donor benefits because they can now deduct that donations, and the donor also benefits then because they don't have to pay donations tax. The PBO benefits in the sense that now more companies will want to donate to you, right? So there's more money coming in and you don't have to pay taxes as well. So try to get the knowledge as much as you can. Make sure you are compliant. It just simplifies things. And yeah.
I think as Radio Pulpit, we need to have a drive with you and then you educate everybody else everywhere. In Gauteng, bona, we just go Tromatente and then, we're like, NPOs, this is for you. But thank you so much for educating us today yet again. Can't wait to hear what you have for us next week. Still on tax, I know. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give God what belongs to God. For us who'd like to talk to you directly, how do we reach you?
Okay, thank you. So you can contact us through our company, NPK Consultancy. We provide tax services, right? So you can contact us on info@npkconsultancy.co.za.
Can you repeat that?
info@npkconsultancy.co.za. And can also follow us on all social platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, my queen, for coming through.
Thank you for having us.
We learn on a daily basis. So somebody was surprised yesterday when you told them, you have to pay. You, and they were like, what?
Yes.
So no longer word for our Radio Pulpit family, but we have been educated. May God awesomely keep keeping you and blessing you.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, family. Now we are going to the 1 o'clock news bulletin. And when